Welcome to Online Lesson 1A for the Written Communication module of STEP. This lesson will cover techniques to help you plan a report. Lesson 1B will introduce different types of reports and cover the general structure of them. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify given task requirements and define the associated goals, develop a report outline, and organize and write informative headings. So let's get started. The first step in preparing your report is to identify given task requirements and, based on that, define your goals. At university, the assignment brief or outline will contain keywords that indicate what you are required to do. For example, you may have come across assignments that ask you to analyze, compare, or evaluate. Based on what you are asked to do, you can set goals for what you would like to achieve to meet these requirements. So, for example, if you're asked to analyze something, you're being asked to examine it methodically and in detail, typically in order to explain and interpret it. When you're asked to compare, you're being asked to look for similarities and differences between multiple propositions. Similarly, you may be asked to contrast two things. In this case, you should primarily focus on the differences between them. If you're asked to define something, you should state or explain exactly the nature, scope, or meaning of that thing. Your response should be concise, with a focus on technical accuracy. Similar to define, you may be asked to describe something. Here you are required to give a detailed account of the characteristics of the subject. You do not have to be as concise as when defining, and you are likely to have more scope to address relevant related topics. If you are asked to discuss, there is an emphasis on multiple perspectives, so you need to investigate or examine the issue to give reasons both for and against. To evaluate, you need to make an assessment of the worth of something. This is usually done within a particular context. If asked to investigate, you need to research, study, and carefully survey all areas of the given subject. References are likely to be needed. Exam and test questions may only have a single requirement, while assignments are likely to require multiple different actions. Let's look at an example. Here we have a fictional assignment for the fictional subject Emerging Technologies. A copy is available from the STEP community. For clarity, we'll leave off the submission process, as it's not really relevant at this stage. A quick look through the text shows that you're asked to investigate the current state of 3D TV and address whether there is a future for 3D TV. While the obvious requirement is investigate, the actual assignment is to evaluate. This can be seen by the second requirement. Address the question of whether there is a future for 3D TV. Looking at the required issues, we now know that we must investigate the current market and market trends for 3D TV, investigate the technology used in 3D TV, discuss existing issues and drivers, and evaluate whether 3D TV is likely to be successful in the future. Everything in our report should revolve around these four goals. Writing an outline can greatly help organize your report into one that is logically structured, concise, and easy to read. Two types of outlines may be of value to you: working outlines and formal outlines. A working outline is somewhat like a sketch that you can use to list and arrange the main ideas and subpoints you would like to cover in your report. This will give you a starting point for the structure of the report and help focus your attention on where the major work and research needs to be done. A formal outline is a more developed version of the working outline. A formal outline is constructed once you have a better understanding of the key ideas you hope to cover, and you can organize a possible structure for the report. This outline should have headings and subheadings which are linked to and support the aims of the report. The hierarchy of the headings should show the relationship between each area you wish to cover. Remember, these outlines can be used as a starting point for the final report outline, but it should be revised and adapted in light of the research that you conduct. Let's now construct a working outline for our fictional assignment. First, we write down the main question that we have been asked to answer. Is there a future for 3D TV? It also helps to write down the goals that we previously identified. To address these goals, we write down a list of all the questions we think need to be answered. You may find it useful to pause the presentation and either think of or write down your own list of questions. Here's a sample list of what a student might come up with. These second level questions will direct our investigations and form our first working outline of our assignment. From this long and somewhat repetitive initial list, we would edit out the topics we don't really think we need, including those that we would merge into other closely related topics. We now have our reduced list of topics, which we need to reorganize into a logical structure. We can remove the original goals, as our intention was that they should be addressed, and they have been. We now want to choose logical sections to cluster our topics into. At this early stage in our planning, some sensible sections might be general information, technology perspective, market perspective, and issues. With these sections selected, we allocate the topics. Our working outline is looking good, so we're now ready to research our topics. Now, following our research of the areas highlighted in the working outline, we can begin our formal outline. A formal outline is a more developed version of the working one. Before starting on it, you would need to have a better understanding of the key ideas you hope to cover, so that you can organize a possible structure for the report. We've combined the technology section into our introduction and background, as the technology behind 3D TV is closely connected to the issues surrounding it. We've bulked up this technology section with a discussion of encoding methods, and also discovered that issues with standardization are relevant to its success. A key issue affecting the adoption of 3D TV is related to autostereoscopic 3D technology, so we've added it to the market section. The other big problem for 3D TV is the amount and type of content, so we've given content its own section. The issues, benefits, and disadvantages are addressed across the different sections, so you may notice that they no longer have their own one. Finally, the key drivers have been found to be 3D cinema and 3D video games, and as such, we add these new sections. This outline should have headings and subheadings which are linked to and support the aims of the report. The hierarchy of the headings should show the relationship between each area you wish to cover. What we have now is an outline of the body of the report, which addresses the key requirements that were outlined in the assessment guidelines. Looking over our formal outline, we can now tentatively select some headings. These will help you focus your attention on what needs to be covered in order to achieve your intended goals. More importantly, effective headings and subheadings will help the reader to understand how the document is organized. You should be mindful of the wording as well as the presentation of headings. In terms of wording, make sure that the headings are informative and tell the reader what the following section covers. For example, when writing a report, you might select the heading Consumption Patterns. When familiar with the report, this might make perfect sense, but a new reader may find it unclear. What kind of consumption is being referred to? What about these patterns is important? A better title might be Changes in Power Consumption Patterns of Jacketed versus Non-Jacketed Vessels. In terms of presentation, there is no universal format used in engineering and science. If a format is specified, you should follow it. Otherwise, choose one that is appropriate. Different levels of headings will highlight a hierarchy, and headings of equal importance must be written in the same way. If you use an application like Microsoft Word, which has heading styles, you should use these as they will simplify your editing process. Common ways of creating different levels of headings are by varying the type of font, the font size, and the amount of white space surrounding the heading. You can also use a numbering scheme for different order headings. In Microsoft Word, this can be done automatically for you using a multi-level list. Keep in mind that more than 3 levels of headings may disrupt your reader's concentration. Let's now take the formal outline created previously and reduce it down to a set of headings. We need to decide which of our topics are suitable headings and which should just be content. Nouns are typically good candidates for headings, and questions will typically be converted into statements. With our new set of headings, we can just add an executive summary, a conclusion, and references, and we're now ready to start writing. Thank you for watching this lesson. We have now covered the basics of report planning. In the next online lesson, we will cover the characteristics of reports and their different sections contained within them. Please complete the Lesson 1A self-assessment to check how much of the lesson you have retained.